So if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know I don't have any AI in my videos. I mean, some people still think somehow that my voice is AI, but that's not the point. I might have let a little bit of ChatGPT poison slip into the videos recently, but I'm going to let you know that won't be happening again. In a world full of inauthentic content taking over, I want to be the opposite of that. So anyways, let me quit yapping. We have a couple really good Reddit stories to read today. The second one was genuinely scary, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to sleep tonight. Let's go ahead and get started. The first story today is from r/no sleep from user Emma Watson but dumber. Great name, by the way. I responded to an ad called Sitter Wanted. They meant it literally, and I'm not going to be stupid and break the only rule. I'd done babysitting jobs before. Quick way to make some cash without working too much. When I saw the ad on some forum, the high pay attracted me immediately. Sitter Wanted, Friday night from midnight to 4 a.m. I liked that the hours were fixed in the offer, so I wouldn't wait too much for the parents to come home and end up staying longer than we initially agreed on. Some parents were scammers, man, always promising to come home earlier than they did, refusing to pay me for the extra time. The ad was simple, but mentioned nothing about the kids. I called the number mentioned, and upon being asked about the children, the voice on the other end went silent. There's no child, ma'am. I just want you to sit on this chest for a while. See, at this point, why even continue? There's already something weird going on here. What do you mean? I mean, sit on it for 4 hours so the thing inside doesn't come out. Do you believe in demons? No, not really. Even better. I was cursed a while ago, and I keep getting chests or boxes in the mail since. If I open them, there's nothing inside. But if they're not blocked, something weird comes out of them at night. That's how my last boyfriend went missing. I didn't believe in that, and I woke up one day to find the chest open and empty and him gone. I really don't know what else to tell you because that's all I know. I'll just mail the package to you. You don't even have to come to my house. You can literally mail it back in the morning. You won't have to sit on it every night, just when I'm going out and can't sit on it myself. I honestly thought it was a little funny. We met in some park and she showed me the chest. I inspected it, opened it, it was empty, turned it around to look for hidden cameras, mics, anything that might be shady. It was a simple wooden chest with nothing to show and nothing to hide. I took it home. I sat on it shortly before midnight, on my phone. I was a little curious, but I wasn't trying to mess around. I would sit on it from 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. for $200? Oh my gosh. End of discussion. Oh, and it might try to trick you. Your phone might ring, or doorbell, anything like that, just to make you get up. Don't listen. Sure, easiest $200 ever made. I sat down on the wooden lid and watched reels on my phone. The chest was oddly warm, and at some point around 1 a.m., I could feel a murmur inside. It vibrated slightly. It was a little exciting, I won't lie. Around 2 a.m., I heard a knock from the inside of the chest. I turned off my phone. Had I imagined it? It didn't come again, but it still made me feel uneasy. I was beginning to doze off, so I played some BS game on my phone to remain awake. At around 3:44 a.m., I got a text from the woman who posted the ad asking me if anything strange happened. No, it was fine. Okay, well, you can get up now. I wanted to wait until 4 a.m. hit, just to be sure. I did well, because the next day the owner of the chest claimed to have not sent any text at all. Surely enough, I checked, and the text I supposedly had gotten that night was gone. Had I hallucinated it? Wow, it had tricked me to get up earlier. Smart. Over the next 5 months, I sat, not babysat, 15 other times. The woman explained that sometimes she got another chest in the mail, and that's how she knew she could throw away the old one. If she tried to throw it away before, it just kept getting mailed back to her house. I had to sit on shoeboxes, closed baskets, a little uncomfortable, once a sealed suitcase that made a wet shifting sound whenever I adjusted my weight. The freakiest experience I had was around gig 7 or 8 when I heard a loud thud upstairs. I live alone and it was roughly 2 a.m., but I couldn't investigate for obvious reasons. I just sat there and waited for 4 a.m. to come so I could finally see what was going on. Nothing was out of place when I checked. Nothing out of the ordinary. Another time, I heard my cat meowing from inside the box. Well, Sam, I remembered thinking, if you're really in there, you can wait for another hour. You won't die. After the time was up, I opened it to find nothing inside. See, I became immune to the tricks. Nothing would make me get up. Something truly demonic was going on, something I couldn't explain, but I was smart enough to not obey. She directed the last package to me, so I got a delivery. Inside of the package was a tiny chess box with weird paintings on the side, the kind that opens into a board. Inside, I found some chess pieces. The kings and the queens had sinister faces painted on them, and their eyes freaked me out so much that I shoved them back inside and closed the lid. It's getting creative, I remember thinking. Its size allowed me to sit on it while in bed, so the effort was practically non-existent. I took it upstairs and got to work. Around 2 a.m., my doorbell rang. Nothing out of the ordinary. It rang and rang. Then I heard desperate bangs on the door. Then silence. Then footsteps downstairs. I knew it was trying to trick me, but it was still freaky and odd. Thump, thump, thump. Up the stairs. I was glad I'd closed my bedroom door. It somehow made me feel safer, even if I knew that the real threat was inside the chess box I was sitting on. The footsteps stopped in the hallway. In the silence, I could make out breathing. Harsh breathing. I don't know why, but it sounded like someone trying to contain their excitement. Jesus. Calm down. The threat is not real. It won't hurt you as long as you sit down. The sound of fingers tapping against my bedroom door. Blood was pounding into my ears, my chest hollow. Every breath felt like pushing a boulder up a hill. May 4 a.m. come faster, for the love of God. My doorknob turned, but the door didn't open. This was one of the worst hallucinations I'd ever had. The footsteps moved downstairs, in a way that reminded me of a kind of weird, demented waltz. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Screw me. I began breathing heavily. I called the woman. Hey, this might be the last gig because it's getting a little too real. What do you mean? Someone is waltzing downstairs, man. They were right at my bedroom door. I know this is all a hallucination, but it messes with my head a little too much. I'll finish this gig, then I'm afraid you'll have to find someone else. I'm really sorry to hear that. Okay then, well, you'll have another hour to go. Yeah. You having fun at the party? Yeah, but you can still call me if you're freaked out. Just don't get up, please, no matter what. I mean, it's not an uncomfortable position since I'm literally laying in bed right now. Sort of. A pause. You're laying in bed? Yeah. The rhythm downstairs increased. But how? You put it on your bed? I mean, it's a chess box. It's small. Another pause. What do you mean it's a chess box? Came the choked out question. That's what you sent me. No, I sent you a cardboard box. Well, that was the package. You can't just send out a chess box. The post service wraps it up. No, it was a cardboard box with nothing inside. It was small, but definitely not a chess box. I don't know what you found inside, but I sent it empty. When did I ever send you the real thing in another bigger package? Please, for the love of God, tell me you didn't fall for it. Blood rushed into my cheeks. The waltzing downstairs continued, mockingly, loud and proud. You can't mail a chess box by itself, I responded, suddenly uneasy. You were not supposed to receive a chess box. What the hell? Please tell me you didn't leave the cardboard box unattended. It was the packaging, I replied, on the verge of tears. No. She was almost hysterical. The waltzing downstairs stopped. I remembered the cardboard box that came in the mail. It was roughly the size of the chess box inside. Every single thing I'd sat on before had been empty. I was suddenly unsure of what I'd been sitting on for the past 3 hours. What if I'd hallucinated that the real box contained another one inside? That had never happened before. Was I truly sitting on nothing now? A long, teasing whistle broke the silence. I suddenly got the urge to lock my bedroom door, if I'd left the real box unattended downstairs. Shit. Or is it a trick? Did I hallucinate the call? Is it trying to get me to get up? Time's almost up, but now I can hear someone going up the stairs. What do I do now? What do I do? Alright, that was part one. I feel like she definitely hallucinated the phone call. I don't know. What do you guys think? Anyways, here's part two. As I was typing the previous post, the footsteps got closer, until they reached my bedroom door. My heart was pounding in my chest with a force that knocked the air out of my lungs. I looked over some comments and I decided to trust my gut. If the real box had been left unattended downstairs, there was nothing I could do now. I was most likely about to die. If the chest box was the actual box which needed guarding, I still had a chance to save myself. I remained seated and waited, out of breath for the remaining time to run out. 3:52 a.m., fingers tapping against the wood of the door. 3:53, a gasp outside. 3:54, multiple gasps, which melted into some sort of exaggerated breathing, loud and wet. I was literally shitting my pants. I'm not some good storyteller. I don't know how else to put it. I'm not a writer. I was genuinely exhausted and about to collapse. 3:55, a loud bang. The doorknob started turning again. Good thing it can't open a door. The door opened. Slowly, the slice of darkness grew, and my eyes desperately took in the shadows, trying to make something out. 3:56. The door was now fully open. I stared into the hallway. The whistle came again, long and playful. A knock on the wall, and then the whistling stopped. Then came a whisper. "Can I come in?" My stomach clenched. Jesus Christ. Jesus. 4 a.m. Silence. My sweaty, trembling hands almost dropped my phone as I called the woman. It rang for a while before she picked up. "Yeah? Did I talk to you on the phone before? Huh? You've got some nerve to be confused. I've been through the worst 4 hours of my life. Was it that bad? Did I talk to you before? No, you didn't. Why? What did it say to you?" A wave of relief washed over me. I almost broke into tears. "Did you send me a chess box?" "Yes, why?" I explained to her what had happened. After a long pause, she admitted that it was getting more clever at tricking people. "You were right not to stand up. Damn, I'm sorry that happened to you. I want you to come over right now and take this thing away from me. I feel like I deserve an explanation." "I've had a bit to drink, but I'll call a taxi." "Yeah, I'm sorry. Basically, I heard movement on the other end. Then her saying goodbye to some people. When I was 15, I became friends with some weird people. Type of people that believed in witchcraft and stuff. They were so deep into tracking a cult that had disappeared a while ago. The custodians, they called themselves. "It was nice seeing you. Yeah, no, I'm heading home." And they vanished, or just hid from the public eye. They worshipped a witch, the marrow seamstress. They also thought that your soul could be found in your bone marrow, and the seamstress would sew souls back together, make them immortal or something. I wasn't too involved in any of that, but I played along. Anyway, one day I get a call from my friend, and he says they're going to do this ritual. He brings in this box and claims that some custodian killed himself and his soul is trapped inside. He says Layla. Maybe we can train him to teach us how to become immortal. Summon his spirit or something. I was like, "Dude, you're nuts." But he explained he got it from some other shady dude and it came with instructions. And then he told me what I already told you. Sit on the box. He said he was stalling it until he was ready to face it. I still don't know why the packages keep changing, why they come in different shapes and sizes, maybe to trick you, but he tried to train the thing inside. Talk to the thing. Well, the first night he tried to talk to it was the night he disappeared. I haven't heard from him since. The other members of the group took over the mission and they all disappeared one by one, until this girl Kate came to my door desperate. She'd witnessed what happened the previous nights and was absolutely hysterical. She said that whatever was inside the box was no custodian, no ghost, but a demon with many faces. The marrow seamstress was one of its names, but in reality it had no gender or appearance. There was no way for you to talk to it. We took turns looking over the box. One night she was the sitter. She called me asking if it was really me outside her home. She disappeared the next day, and that's when I knew two things. That I was the one who had to look over that shit, and that it could trick you. It tricked me once, too, and as I said, my boyfriend went missing. It was a whole mess. I had to move states. I was investigated for years. I can't escape from it, and I don't know what happens to me if it gets out. Mind you, I was listening to this BS at 4 a.m. in the darkness. I had a terrible, terrible feeling of being watched. Layla arrived 20 minutes later. She took the chess box. Listen, I know it's creepy, but as long as you don't stand up, nothing really happens. I can pay you more to watch over it if you want. You know the drill now. It could be easier for you. My life is in ruins. I can't miss a night. I can't marry, have kids, rest. I'm talking up to 1K for those 4 hours. If you take it for a full week, I could pay you 10K. It sounded incredible. I still couldn't accept, though. I was not going to mess with this thing more than I already had. That whistling was still imprinted on my mind, and I knew I'd hear it in my dreams for weeks after this incident. I'm sorry, I really don't want to be involved anymore. Okay, I understand. Before she left, I had one final question. Hey, why did it automatically transfer to you after Kate died? I guess it picked up my scent. It can do that, you know. If you witness someone being taken, or if there's two of you and one dies. So if you die, her expression was completely blank. I don't know. Right. I went back inside and slept for 13 hours. When I woke up, I went downstairs to have some breakfast, lunch, dinner. On the kitchen counter sat the chess box. I ran my fingers across it. What the hell? I'd brought it downstairs while me and Layla talked, but she had taken it with her. Hey, do you, have an eye on the box? The chess box? Yes, did you maybe forget to take it, or... Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I got carried away. I could have sworn I had it with me. That bitch. Well, could you come and get it before nightfall? I'm really uncomfortable with having it in my house. Yeah, sure, I'll be there in 5. Okay. I waited 15, 20, 30 minutes, called again. Layla, couldn't you just watch it for another night? You really scared me with what you said, and what? It's still your box. I know, I'll just come, I promise. She didn't. I waited for 2 more hours. Then I took the chess box with me and drove to her house. She lived in this small apartment on the 4th floor. As I got to her door, a note greeted me. I'm really sorry, I just got scared. I called her again and again, but she never picked up her phone. I began to panic and ask around. No one knew any woman who went by Layla. They gave me another name of the girl who lived there, so I called the police and I reported her missing. As long as I had the box and it knew me, it wouldn't just magically appear wherever she went, because it had me now. She was not going to leave me alone with this thing. It took them 3 hours to trace her card and tell me she'd used it at a gas station miles and miles away. So I got into my car and started driving. When midnight came, I pulled on the side of the road and sat on the chess box. There I was, in a car with no headlights, parked somewhat illegally. In the driver's seat with a chess box under me, car doors locked. No visitors, no surprises. At around midnight, a truck flashed its bright lights at me. It was heading towards my car at a dizzying speed. Every inch of me begged to run, to get out of the car. No, it can crash into me for all I care. I closed my eyes and braced for an impact that never came. When I opened them, for a split second, I stared into the eyes of another person, inches from my own face. Then, gone. I can't even describe how they looked, how it looked. I heard a baby crying at some point. Out into the distance, I saw someone in the back seat, half of the car on fire. I'm not standing up. I might be terrified, but I'm not standing up. At around 3:40, a police car pulled up behind me. The policeman motioned me to roll my window down. I did. Ma'am, do you know you're not allowed to park here? Shut up, you're not real. The man paused. I felt a tingle of fear. Would you mind stepping out of the vehicle for me? Not now. Wait 20 minutes. I can't stand up right now. Ma'am, are you on drugs? You're not real. Stop. Ma'am? I decided to humor the demon. I'm not on drugs. Then please unlock your car and step out. I told you to wait. I argued with the policeman for a little while, until the clock hit 4 a.m. The policeman didn't disappear. Oh my gosh. That fear was getting stronger now. I finally stepped out, and he had to take me to the station for questioning. I spent the next 18 hours being interrogated on what I knew about the disappearance of the woman and the previous sitters. They obviously didn't believe me. They tested me for drugs and moved me to another station, closer to my house. They didn't let me have the box. I went crazy in my tiny cell, begged them to let me have it, told them someone needed to sit on it for a few hours, cried and said that something bad would happen, and they didn't believe me. Eventually, I fell asleep. I woke up stiff around 5 a.m. The guard was staring at me in an unsettling way. Eyes were wide and bloodshot. "Where's the box?" I asked him. "It was, at the station near here with the car," he began. "What did you mean by sitting on it? What happened?" His voice went down to a whisper. "They won't tell me. I just know that someone died. That's all I know. That's all I know. Wait, I'm getting a call." A part of me wanted to scream. Another part of me trembled with anticipation. As he spoke on the phone, the guard kept looking at me like he was trying to decide whether saying it out loud would make it worse. "They didn't tell me everything," he muttered afterwards, rubbing his hands together. "Just pieces. Stuff that didn't make sense." "Tell me anyway," he swallowed. "They said the box was in evidence, just sitting there. Nothing special about it. One of the officers joked about it, I think, said it was lighter than it looked. Then around," he frowned, trying to remember. Somewhere past midnight, people started complaining. Said they heard noises coming from the room, like scratching maybe, or knocking." My fingers tightened around the edge of the bench. "They thought it was a rat at first, or something in the walls, but then one of them said it sounded like pacing, or waltzing. Does that make sense to you?" I felt sick. "What happened after that?" "They checked the room. Box was still closed, nothing inside. They even opened it, just to be sure, said it was empty. Of course it was. They closed it again, and locked the room." Another pause. "And then one of the officers who were watching the feed said he saw someone in there." My throat tightened. The guard's eyes flicked to the door behind me. They thought he was messing around, until another guy saw it too. Then the noises stopped, and one of them went in, walked inside, checked the box, even laughed. Said everyone needed to calm down. Then he went quiet and asked, something like, "When did you get in here?" There was no one else in the room, the guard whispered. That's what they said. Door was still open, other officers right outside. My nails dug into my palms. What happened to him? The guard swallowed hard. They didn't describe it properly, just said he went to the box, opened it, jammed his head inside until they pulled him away. He then stopped breathing. They did CPR and everything, and nothing worked. A long silence. "And the box?" I forced out. His face went pale. They said there were marks on the floor, like someone had been sitting there, in the middle of the room, right in front of the box. And the officer who died? I don't really get this. They said he went missing? How do you lose track of a dead body? So there's people who saw what happened? If it picked up their scent. I just told you the station was full, so yes, lots of people saw him die. What do you mean sit on it? On the box? A few more hours passed while I explained what I knew. I could see that he was trying to wrap his head around it. But wasn't the box yours now? You can take it away, right? I lied. No, now the curse was fully transferred. It's their responsibility to watch over it now. Eventually, he ran out of questions, and I was sent home. If I was the one meant to watch over it, if the curse was still mine, I would have gotten it back in the mail. That's what Layla claimed happened to her. It's been 4 days, and I haven't received anything. I might be free, you guys. I know it picked up my scent, but unless whoever has it now makes a mistake, it can't come back to me. And as the guard said, the station was full of officers. If someone does something wrong, I hope it'll just pass to whoever was in that room. In order for me to get the curse back, a bunch of people have to die. I'd say I'm good, for now. I like this comment on Reddit. It says pee on it to assert dominance. I like the way they think. But no, for real, why can't they just like burn it or something? Like, is there some type of like demonic rule or circumstance that has to be met for you to burn it or something? Or I don't know, throw it in a hole, bury it, light it on fire. The next story today is from r/no sleep from user Unalloyed Saint Trina. My fiance went missing 6 months ago, and everyone's convinced I killed her. Last night, my doorbell camera caught her standing across the street, staring at our house from the edge of the cornfield. When Rose vanished, Detective Hughes seemed damn certain he'd discover where I buried her body. I told him I had nothing to do with it, over and over. I explained that he was squandering precious time. I begged him to consider other possibilities, pleaded for him to expand the search. You know what I got in response? A shit-eating grin and some old-timey, "You're going away for a long time, pal," cop speak. The smugness of it all made me want to bash my head against the cell wall until my skull collapsed. Can't say I was surprised, though. Some small part of myself knew I was screwed from the jump. Rose had no enemies. I had no alibi. Of course he thought I killed her. What other explanation could there be? We were home that day, just the two of us. Rose went outside to stick a "for sale" sign in the roadside, even though I told her it was a waste of energy. I'd lived in that house my entire life, inherited from my parents when they passed. Labeling it secluded was a generous understatement. If someone ever drove by, it was because they were very, very lost and probably not in the market for a beat-up farmhouse. Still, she was insistent. A sale would have financed the wedding Rose always envisioned for us, so goddammit, she was going to figure out a way to sell it. And that meant trying everything, including the sign. Rose was stubborn like that. Fiercely, unapologetically, bullheaded. Always had been. During the winter of '96, her family's golden retriever ran out onto a frozen lake and fell through the ice. Her mom screamed for her to stay put, but the command didn't even slow her down. She dove headfirst into the water. Rose couldn't save the drowning dog, of course. I mean, what are the odds any 8-year-old could have? That wasn't the point, though. If she wanted something, she'd do everything in her power to make it manifest, no matter what anyone said, no matter the cost. In that case, the cost was pretty steep. 8 days in the hospital, $30,000 in medical expenses, and a trio of amputated toes. Frostbite had devoured the smallest 3 on her right foot, left each of them dust-colored and brittle like an eggshell. You'd think losing some digits would have dented her natural resolve, but not Rose. Her ability to walk was never the same, but she wobbled with her chest puffed out, emerald eyes gleaming with this inextinguishable fire, her expression steadfast and sure, even when the kids at school mocked her, nicknaming her Two-Toed Rose. That's not very creative. They could have come up with something much better. Naturally, I didn't bother to fight her on the "for sale" sign. Instead, I grabbed a beer from the fridge, slumped onto the couch, and tried to unwind. "Be right back," she called out. 15 minutes later, my stomach was warm with lager, but she hadn't come back in. I wasn't worried. What was there to be worried about? I would have heard if there was trouble. The only ambient noise this deep into the heartland was the wind whistling softly between the corn stalks. My head began to feel pleasantly heavy. I let my eyelids flutter and fall. Woke up with a start, lurching upright, caked in cold sweat and gasping for air. Hours had passed. The night-swept house curled around me, grimly silent. I called out to her, but to no avail. Rose wasn't inside. My truck was still in the driveway. I ended up skipping the worried phase and proceeding straight to borderline hysterical. I bolted up and down the road screaming her name. Then I called Dan. To my profound relief, he answered his cell in the first ring. Lord only knows how someone born in our sad excuse for a shed ended up becoming the assistant to Minnesota's district attorney. But in that moment, I was grateful. My older brother pulled some strings, and within hours, droves of policemen were buzzing around the farmhouse. I sat on the porch and let them work, head in my hands, out of my mind with anxiety. Sniffer dogs had no difficulty picking up her scent, but as soon as they entered the cornfield across the street, the pack of German shepherds turned rabid. barking, whining, spinning in manic circles, biting wildly at each other. Detective Hughes told me that their abrupt frenzy indicated that the scent trail had gone cold and that it was a normal, expected reaction. The confusion painted across their handler's face seemed to suggest otherwise. A day later, I was arrested and charged with Rose's murder. The police razed that cornfield, unearthing every speck of dirt in a half-mile radius, searching for Rose's corpse, but found fuck all. No blood, no body, no for sale sign, nothing. Other than the testimony of a few malfunctioning sniffer dogs, there was no objective evidence that I'd killed her, so the case never went anywhere, and eventually they had to let me go. In the trial of public opinion, however, I was guilty by default. When someone's wife disappears, it's always the husband's doing. Isn't that right, Frank? Is what Rose's father screamed at me when I dared to show my face at the local grocery store. In the wake of her disappearance, everyone seemed to gloss over the fact that Rose and I never had the wedding, an honorary promotion to husband and wife, excruciating and ironic in equal measure. The man chased me all the way to my truck, angry tears spilling down his unshaved cheeks, white-knuckled fist hammering the driver's side window, splintering the glass while my trembling hand fumbled to shove the key into the ignition. "Where the hell is my daughter, you sick son of a bitch?" he bellowed as I sped away. I didn't have the answer, but he believed I did, and that was my true cross to bear. I was just as desperate to know what happened to Rose as anyone else, but I had no community to fall back on. The only person who stood by me was Dan, though I could never tell if that was because he actually believed I was innocent or if he was trying to save face, maintaining appearances to sidestep the bad PR of being related to a killer. I trained myself not to think about it. After the incident with Rose's father, Dan offered to deliver food and booze to the farmhouse every Saturday, on the condition that I kept a low profile. That was fine by me. As long as the rations kept coming, Dan could believe whatever he wanted. The days were long and miserable, but the nights were worse. I couldn't sleep. My mind was foggy in the daylight, but as soon as the sun set, I would go into overdrive. I found myself haunted by the same 3 impossible questions, night after night after night. Where was Rose? Who took her? Were they outside right now, lurking in the cornfield, preparing to take me too? If I was ever going to sleep again, I needed some sort of protection, but Dan refused to bankroll a security system for the house. I'm already splitting the cost for these deliveries. Sure as shit not going to fork over another $1,000 for cameras on that godforsaken house. His reluctant counteroffer was for me to move in with him and his family. Told him that wasn't going to happen. I can't just leave. If Rose ever comes home, I need to be there. I claimed, though, if I'm being honest, I held no hope of her returning home. Still, I wouldn't leave. Leaving that house felt akin to a confession. I refused to give anyone the satisfaction. In the end, the doorbell camera was our compromise. I can afford a cheap one with basic motion detection capabilities. I had it mailed to Dan's house, and he brought it with the next delivery. 6 months passed. Never got a single notification. Not until this morning. I woke up around noon, more hungover than usual. I rolled off the couch, gripping my head, acid slithering up the back of my throat. The air in the dimly lit foyer was hot and putrid. I gagged, stumbling around, ankles knocking into empty bottles, causing them to roll. The clinking of glass colliding with glass aggravated my already pounding headache. I wobbled down the front hallway. Sunlight would be torture, but I was willing to endure it for fresh air. I slammed my eyes shut, twisted the knob, and staggered onto the porch, breathing deep. Then there was an unexpected crunch beneath my bare foot, followed by a visceral squish. I lifted my foot and forced myself to take a look, grimacing as the daylight needled my throbbing eyes. The remains of a large brown moth lay smeared across the hardwood. Although I had crushed it, I was fairly sure I hadn't killed it. A handful of identical moths were scattered across my porch, and all of them looked to be dead. I surveyed the yard. There weren't any other dead moths lying in the grass or baking on the asphalt. I shrugged, planting myself on a nearby chair so I could pluck the sticky debris out of my skin. That's when I noticed something bizarre. I counted at least 20 tiny legs splattered across my heel. Moths didn't have that many legs, do they? My pocket buzzed. I scraped the last bits of insect off my skin and pulled my phone from my sweatpants. Sparks flew up and down my spine as I stared at the notifications lingering on screen. Motion alert, 3:28 a.m. Motion alert, 3:44 a.m. I watched these recordings with wide, unblinking eyes, and for the first time since Rose vanished, my mind felt clear. I knew what to do. Dan, this is the last favor, I promise. Static hissed over the spotty connection. I sat on the porch, monitoring the cornfield, scrutinizing each individual stalk with a feverish intensity. You need to get Detective Hughes over to the farmhouse ASAP. She's still here. I saw her. Black clouds congregated on the horizon, portending a deluge. Motion alerts, 3:25, early morning, Kitston County, Minnesota. 3:28 a.m. A silhouette pops into view on the other side of the pothole-ridden street. There's no footage of them walking into frame, no video evidence of them emerging from the vast cornfield on the opposite side of the street. They just appear. Their stance is stilted and awkward, head forward, legs apart, stretched arms held down and at an angle, palms facing the camera. They remain motionless for 16 minutes. Their stillness is so perfect that the recording appears frozen. Details about the silhouette, what they're wearing, their facial features, the presence of any injuries, are hard to discern because of their distance from the camera. 3:44 a.m. A moth lands on the lens, obscuring the cornfield and the silhouette with its wings. After a few seconds, the moth listlessly falls from the lens, and the cornfield returns to view. The silhouette is gone. Not only that, but the location where it had been standing is different. Some of the nearby stalks have vanished, others are missing only pieces, severed cleanly from the stalks at bizarre angles. There, she's right there. I bent over the detective's shoulder and jabbed the top left corner of my laptop, pixels distorting as my fingernail dug into the screen. Detective Hughes leaned over the kitchen table, squinting, cocking his head, studying her. Outside, rain pelted the gutters. My anxious heartbeat sort of mimicked the downpour. Quick, arrhythmic bursts of sound and motion. Why was he being so quiet? I know the feed is hazy. I paused, unsure what I was going to say next, but that's definitely Rose. I don't know why she's standing like that. Don't know why she never came inside last night, but Jesus Christ, she's alive. Rose is alive. The thud of my laptop slamming shut severed my stream of consciousness. Detective Hughes stood, pulled his raincoat from the rim of the chair, and began sliding it on. So, did you email it to yourself, or... He paced out of the kitchen, stepping over empty beer bottles and plates of rotting food, navigating the minefield of detritus that acted as a physical testament to Rose's prolonged absence. Wait, you're reopening her case, right? I called after him. I followed him into the foyer. The man was practically sprinting out of my house. As his hand gripped the front doorknob, he spat a few harsh syllables under his breath. I felt heat gnawing at my ribs. What the hell did you just say? I shouted. Hughes tensed his shoulders. He released the knob and slowly turned to face me. His bloodshot eyes were bulging. A bright blue vein pulsed beneath the skin of his temple. I said, "This is the last time I ever do your brother a favor." His hands flew into the air, gesticulating wildly. "For fuck's sake, Frank, I know you're desperate for the world to believe you didn't kill her, but that had to be the laziest, most pathetic attempt at Photoshop I've ever seen." "What? None of that was photo—" "Hey," he barked, stomping across the foyer, crushing frozen meal boxes underneath his boot heel, squaring up to me. Nose to nose, lips contorted into a snarl. I shut my mouth and sheepishly tilted my head to the door. Distant lightning fractured the sky, bathing the room in a pearly flash. Hughes lowered his voice to a sharp whisper. "How dumb do you think I am, bud? You really expected me to believe you got a motion-detected notification for something that far away from the camera? You getting a notification every time a sparrow flies over the cornfield, too?" My heart sank. I hadn't considered that. And by the way, those corn stalks are at least 7 feet tall. So next time you try to pull a stunt like this, it might be a good idea to make her shorter than the stalks, not half a head taller. I hadn't considered that either. Turns out, the pure relief of seeing Rose again had blinded me, and when that blindness lifted, some unnerving irregularities began settling in my blood like drying cement. My entire body felt numb and heavy. I stared at the floor. What the hell was on that video? Hughes slapped a hand onto my shoulder. My eyes snapped back to him. Rows of cigarette-stained teeth shone through a hollow grin. "Great talk," he mumbled, releasing his palm. He trudged across the foyer and swung the front door open. The thumping clamor of a rainstorm erupted into my home. "One last thing," he shouted from the doorway. "Let's pretend you weren't god-awful at video tampering, and I believed what you said was on that recording. Isn't it kinda suspicious that the first thing you did was devise a way to get me over here, rather than look for Rose yourself?" Hughes flipped his hood up and stepped into the downpour, leaning out of the frame while holding the door open, gesturing to the cornfield. "She's right there, Frank. A little rain really stopped you from going to find your beloved?" I stared at the man, searching for something to say. He sighed. "Listen, judging by the rust, I'd bet good money your truck is just an expensive metal sofa at this point. So you want to lift into town? I don't know whether or not you killed Rose, but I know that Dan cares about you, and I know this hellhole is poisoning your mind." A dormant rage reignited in my gut. I did not kill her, you vapid, miserable fuck." Each syllable fired from my diaphragm like a pistol shot. My rage echoed through the empty corridors, blanketing the ruins of my life in a layer of harsh, blood-red noise. The echo slowly faded. I studied my labored breathing. "Now get the hell out of my house." He chuckled, turned, and plodded into the storm. Frozen in the center of my musty, poorly lit, trash-laden foyer, I watched the door gradually sputter closed, jerking on its hinges, and for a second, my eyes latched onto something. A long-legged silhouette looming atop the weathered yellow road markings. A featureless outline glistening in the relentless downpour. Then the door clicked shut. I bolted to the room's front-facing bay windows and pressed my face into the murky glass, stomach twisting, lungs on fire. "What the hell?" I whispered, eyes darting across the road. I scanned every inch of it, once, twice, 3 times, and all I saw was the headlights from the detective's sedan growing dimmer and dimmer on the horizon. It took about an hour to settle my screaming nerves. I darted from window to window, peering out into the storm, frantically surveying the perimeter for whatever I thought I saw, hoping that would calm me down. The patrol backfired. My imagination projected the long-legged silhouette into every dark corner of the overwhelming gloom, elevating my panic to new heights. Autopilot took over. I paced into the foyer, brandished a half-filled bottle of scotch that was resting on the coffee table, and began chugging. My nervous system cooled. The panic faded. I finished the last sip with a wheezing cough. I tossed the bottle into the already cluttered fireplace and stumbled into the kitchen, collapsing into the chair Hughes had been sitting in. "Asshole," I muttered, staring at the closed laptop. Gusts of wind battered the house, whipping the rafters, causing the walls to creak and moan. Loose gutters crashed against the side of the roof. I wedged my fingertips under the display and slowly pulled it up. The screen flashed to life, and the footage resumed. I studied the motionless silhouette. The more I examined it, the less it looked like Rose. The arms were too skinny. The head was too long. The body appeared flat, paper-thin, almost two-dimensional. But the face was right. The button nose, the rounded chin, the fire glinting behind their eyes. My phone chattered against the table. I gasped, clutching my chest, heartbeat striking my palm. Jesus. I picked it up and answered without checking the caller ID. Dan's gravely voice buzzed through the receiver. "I just got off the line with Hughes. What the hell happened, man?" I clicked the space bar. The timestamp at the top of the recording stopped ticking. Same old stuff that always happens. He didn't believe me. I swear, I could point out the flaming orb in the sky and call it the sun, and these people would still label me a liar. The room began to spin. I closed my eyes and rested my forehead on the keypad. God, Frank, every day you sound a little more like Dad. What's that supposed to mean? A hint of regret crept into Dan's voice. You know, just nothing was ever his fault. Not the divorce, not the drinking, none of it. Hell, even some issues back when we actually owned the house and the farmland. I felt myself drifting from the conversation. The hypnotic thumping of the rain was more significantly palatable than another one of my brother's sermons. The phone vibrated against my ear. I shot upright and peered at the screen. My guts twisted into violent knots. Motion alert. 10:32 p.m. I scrambled to switch to the live feed. Dan droned on in the background. Remember how Dad would always lose things, but he'd never own up to it? It was pathetic. The man would blame the cornfield before he blamed himself, said the land was slippery and cracked at the seams. I furiously examined the black and white image. Stalks wavered in the bellowing wind. Lightning flickered in the background. No silhouette, no moths, no motion. There was this one time, back when you were still a baby. It was the middle of the night. I woke up because Dad was yelling, probably drunk, but he wasn't arguing with Mom. He was on the porch, screaming into the dark, howling the phrase, "Give it back," over, and over again. I rewinded the feed to exactly 10:32. Still, the cornfield was vacant. Something had set the detector off. Where the hell was it? Then I saw it. Not in the cornfield, much closer to the camera, hanging over the porch awning. A bulbous, rolling pin-shaped knob with two thin, crooked, wriggling protrusions, curling over at the ends like a cricket antenna. Those protrusions hooked onto the awning's edge and pushed up, quickly disappearing from the feed. Recognition came in small, venomous drips. An old nickname began rattling around my skull. Two-toed Rose. Without warning, the rain became louder, less muted. Droplets clinked against the empty glass bottles scattered around my foyer. The music of her arrival. I slid the phone into my pocket and stood with as much grace as my drunken limbs could muster, careful not to squeak the chair legs against the tile. Bouts of wind howled within the next room. I took slow, silent steps, bringing the foyer into view. Silver moonlight bathed the waterlogged couch with an eerie glow. I didn't understand, but I couldn't see the roof. I leaned forward. There was a hole. A narrow hole with smooth, rounded edges. Maybe slit is a more appropriate word. It was long. From my vantage, I couldn't see how long. I leaned a little more, but stopped before I saw the end. I squinted. Motes of dust danced in the moonlight, swelling, ballooning towards me, forming shapes that caused waves of primal distress to explode across my skin. But I couldn't run. Not yet. Not until two ghastly emeralds gradually shimmered into existence, getting closer and closer. And then a rounded chin and a button nose. She was right in front of me. I could only see her semi-translucent face superimposed over the foyer. It crinkled the atmosphere as she pushed closer, like forcing a mask through a layer of saran wrap. Her expression was one of contentment, cheeks raised with a wide, toothless smile, but it was still wooden, nearly lifeless. A wispy sensation tingled along my right palm. I think she was trying to hold my hand. I almost smiled. Rose had found a way back to me. Scorching pain engulfed my entire hand, a feeling like hundreds and hundreds of insect legs burrowing into my flesh. I leapt back, wailing in agony, terror squeezing my heart, but it was too late. I threw myself around and sprinted towards the back door. I stretched my hand out to grasp the knob, but something went wrong. I could feel my palm and my fingers, but they hadn't moved to the door with me. Somehow, they remained in the center of the kitchen. I looked down. My hand was just gone, silently stolen, severed cleanly at the wrist. A jagged layer of blackened flesh covered the wound, as if I'd pushed the stump against steaming metal until it sizzled. I felt her approaching, slinking closer with every passing second, but I couldn't stop gawking at the empty air where my hand should have been. I couldn't move. I couldn't leave. I was going to die in that miserable, God-forsaken house, just like Dad did. A spark caught fire behind my eyes. I twisted the knob with my other hand, rammed my shoulder into the door, and descended into the inky darkness. Heavy rain peppered my eyes, blurring my vision. Mud swallowed my bare heels with every step. I didn't look back. I just kept sprinting towards the truck. I felt her. She wasn't far behind. I swung the door open and launched myself into the driver's seat. My stump collided with the gear lever. Unbearable pain radiated up my arm. The syrupy warmth of leaking blood trickled across my wrist. I screamed through a tense jaw, chipping teeth. I sucked down the chalky fragments and reached under the seat, grasping for the spare key. I couldn't see her, but I knew she was only a few feet away. My fingertips finally grazed metal. I heaved the key into the ignition. The engine shuddered, then roared to life. I threw the truck into drive and slammed on the accelerator without even gripping the wheel, screeching onto the rocky asphalt, skidding in and out of potholes. After a few seconds, the car stabilized. Corn stalks passed by at 40 miles an hour. My ragged breaths began to slow. Gradually, the rain stopped. I felt Rose becoming more and more distant. For a split second, I couldn't feel her at all. There was a brief, beautiful silence. Then, like a crack of lightning, I felt her again, not behind me, not at the farmhouse. She was approaching from in front of me. Before I could react, her paralyzed smile appeared in the headlights. She was standing on the roadside, leaning forward, her head poised to hit the front windshield. Instinctively, I ducked. Her face struck the windshield. The collision itself was noiseless. No crunching of metal, no shattering of glass. The only new sound was the whoosh of cold air, blustering through the truck. Rose quickly disappeared in the rearview mirror, unmoored, seemingly no worse for wear. I creaked upright, inspecting the damage. A perfect, face-shaped hole ran the length of the truck, exactly where my head had been before I ducked. Steam drifted from the metal edges. Once again, my connection to Rose dimmed, but it didn't leave me completely. It only truly disappears when she slips through the seams. Currently, I'm holed up in a cheap motel, about 10 miles from the farmhouse. Dan keeps calling. Once I'm a little farther away, I'll pick up. I don't want to risk him being caught in the crossfire. Rose is coming for me. Seems that part of her still wants me. A residual urge that refuses to fade, despite her grievous mutations. I'm going to do whatever I can to evade her. But, for better or worse, I'm connected to her now. She has my right hand. If I focus, I almost feel like I can wiggle my fingers. I don't know what exactly happened to her. Maybe my dad was right. Maybe the land is cracked at the seams. Maybe things slip through and end up somewhere else. A different, parallel place, loosely tethered to our piece of reality. Wherever she disappeared to, it makes sense that Rose of all people would find a way to come back. When Rose wants something, she'll do anything in her power to make it manifest. We never had our wedding, but I think Rose and I are destined for a much deeper connection. Very, very soon. Alright, first things first. Dude, I know you have like a crazy Slenderman wife that is trying to hunt you down, but you had your arm amputated. You need to go to a hospital ASAP. Also, if you call that detective and say, hey, so I did see Rose, and yeah, she's changed a bit, just a little bit. Yeah, so she ate my hand, and then she destroyed my truck. Like, you should definitely come check that out. Anyways, if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. If you liked the video, drop a like and subscribe. If you didn't, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. If you haven't already, join the Discord. It's going to be the top link in the description, and I'll be back tomorrow. See ya.